Ciao comrades and welcome! Today we're trying to solve the mystery of Super Console X2 Pro with triple boot capabilities and more than 60 emulators and 100,000 games available to your disposal. Is it worth it, or should we rather stick to other, cheaper alternatives? Let's investigate. This, my friends, is basically like a set-top box that can boot into Android, into EmuELEC for emulation, and into CoreELEC for media consumption, which is like a codec. It has 2 gigs of RAM and S905X2 CPU, and it can emulate everything up to and including Sega Saturn, Dreamcast, N64 and PSP, partially. It comes with power adapter, HDMI cable, remote control, USB-C hub, 256 gig microSD card with ROMs, another microSD with CoreELEC, and 2 Wi-Fi controllers are also included. In the spec sheet, it says it comes with S905X2 CPU. In the IDA64 it also says the same thing, but when I opened it myself, on the chip it says S905L 3A. I asked about that the company and they said it's the customized version of the same chip with the same performance, and from my testing this holds true. By the way, did you know when you open the device, you're not gonna void your warranty. You're gonna void it simply by taking out your microSD card, which is in my opinion ridiculous. I asked also about that one, and they provided me with this kind of explanation, that customers have often replaced the card it came with, put their different one and returned it. So why not just put into warranty, big asterisk, with sentence warranties only accepted with original SD card or something similar, and sort it, in my opinion. Cause I'm sure customers gonna have to take out the SD card to put there the ROMs they wanna play, not just the ones that are included. I guess it's not as a big of a deal, but for peace of mind it's always good to have a warranty, isn't it? Also huge thanks to KinHank for sending this product over for honest review. So where did I stop? Build quality. It's made out of plastic. From one side there are 2 USB ports and microSD slot. From the rear side there is a power switch, power supply, wired Ethernet, HDMI and AV out. To power it on, you need to plug it into the wall, put their Wi-Fi dongle for controllers and plug in HDMI. At the boot, crazy animation will welcome you. Not sure why they keep putting it in there, cause I'm pretty sure it just makes the boot longer. And it certainly doesn't hype me up like PSP or OG Xbox boot ups do. After the animation, there is the good old EmuELEC 4.5 interface, custom Linux-based OS designed specifically for retro emulation. It is pretty good. This is the full-blown version with all the bells and whistles, with all the options, unlike the one on the Powkiddy Y6 game stick. When you press start, main menu comes up with all the different settings available. You don't need to change mostly anything. Sometimes you'll have to try different core though. For example, in N64 Emulation, the default core couldn't save or load. You can change it easily by pressing select before launching the game, then go into advanced system options, and here pick different core. Job done. You can try if it's any better, if not, choose different one. Now let's get into emulation, shall we? We wanna push it to its limits, see if it overheats, try the most demanding games, and let's kick off with the PSP Emulation and our favorite God of War series. It can run Chains of Olympus. It is the hardest to emulate, so not particularly good. FPS floats around 20, 16, 17, 20, 22. Auto frame script was set to 1. I haven't changed any settings. This is what you can expect straight out of box. I mean, for me, I would be able to play it even like this, but my requirements are kinda low. Ghost of Sparta, also same thing here. If I wouldn't see frame rate on the screen, I would say it's running better than what it shows. Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, around 20 FPS, kinda playable. You can even remap right joystick and use it for aiming. I wasn't doing it though, cause last time I was trying it, I had to reinstall whole new OS. Do you remember? Near Orbit Vanguard Alliance, playable. Need for Speed Most Wanted 5.1, playable. Resistance Retribution, kinda slower. There were some frame drops, quite often. Hercules, Chariot Racing, good. Iron Man 2, also pretty good. Then I tried GTA Liberty City Stories and it says game disk read error, ISO corrupt. With Need for Speed Undercover, it just glitched out with same ISO corrupt message. So you would need to provide your own uncorrupted ISOs to play them. Gran Turismo was kinda unplayable at 15 FPS, really slow. For PS1 emulation, this device is gonna be absolutely fine. It has plenty power for that. Also guys, if you're enjoying these videos, like and subscribe, cause there is certainly more to come. Let's look at the Dreamcast now. Crazy Taxi 2, playable. Sonic Adventure, also playable. Sonic Adventure 2, playable, although there was only trial version of the game included. Rayman 2, playable. Ikaruga was running very good, as well as Mortal Kombat Gold. Overall, Dreamcast emulation was enjoyable, plus, most importantly, it didn't really overheat and thermothrottle, like the Paukidi Y6 game stick did, which is a big plus in my opinion. I was keeping an eye on temperature in system settings, and it didn't exceed 65 degrees Celsius. Sega Saturn emulation via Yaba Sanshiro, quite satisfying, even though there aren't many good games for me in there. Panzer Dragoon around 40 FPS, Sonic Jam 60 FPS, Darius Gaiden also 60 FPS. Drastic and Nintendo DS emulation, very good. I've also tried Wolfenstein 3D on the 3DO. Sound was a bit choppy here and there, but overall pretty good. Super Mario Tennis on the Virtual Boy 50 FPS. By the way, I don't know if you have noticed, but I found quite obtrusive they've put their company's logo even on the retro arch borders. Almost on every single emulator. It's not a big logo, but it certainly makes it less enjoyable, at least from my point of view. Nintendo 64 emulation, as I said, I had to change the core for Mupen 64 Plus 32-bit. That one seemed to have the best results. Yoshi's Story 60 FPS. Wave Racer, it was showing 17-20 FPS, but it was actually pretty playable. Maybe with different core it would have been better. Beetle Adventure Racing 30 FPS. Super Mario 64 running solid. Perfect Dark gave me error 2 times in a row. Clearly my review isn't like a comprehensive or anything, it's more from a casual gamer perspective, but still N64 emulation was pretty good. Now let's boot into Android. We can do it simply by pressing select and choosing reboot from NAND. Another Sega animation will greet you. And we are instantly in the Android. Here I'm checking specs in IDA64. When you are in Android, you can do whatever you want. You can watch YouTube, you can play games, ideally with physical buttons supported. You can still remap them with third-party app if you know how to do that. There are no emulators or games included in here, just the most basic apps. So if you want to do something in here, you need to download and install everything by yourself. Or use it just for media consumption. Same as you can use the Core ELEC, the third boot option, which they will include on a separate microSD card in a package. So you need to switch it off, take out SD card with ROMs, put their new one, and it will boot into Core ELEC. I wasn't really interested in this option, cause there isn't much things I can do with it. Okay, now to my final thoughts. What I like, what I don't like. The performance is not bad. Plus I like it doesn't overheat, which is a big plus. I like it's easy to use, plug and play and you are ready to go. And I also like it can boot into Android. What I don't like the warranty void sticker, and the logo on the borders, but those are just minor nitpicks. The important stuff is the price, and it is not low. Right now they're selling 256 gig version at Amazon for around $120, which to me seems to be quite high price point, especially when I compare it to Powkiddy Y-Stick Game Stick, which has basically same chipset, 1 gig less of RAM, and you cannot boot into Android, but you still get 128 gig micro SD card, 2 controllers, and a bit of overheating on the top, but only for $50. Or there is also another option available. You can just buy a used smartphone, install emulators yourself, put their ROMs, and output to your TV via USB-C hub. Phones are very cheap now and with much better specs. Or you can get something like Ambonic RG353V for around the same price, with 2 gigs of RAM, RK3566 chipset. There is even an HDMI out for TV output, and it has very similar performance. Plus it is a handheld with touchscreen and you can take it anywhere. So at the end of the day, it's always up to you what you prefer. Nowadays there is a lot of options to choose from. Thanks to you for watching, thanks to members for support, peace out.